Hello, welcome to the video. In this video I want to talk about the question, do you need a degree to be a software engineer? Or more specific, do you need a computer science degree to be a software engineer? And I want to answer this question out of my perspective of someone who has a bachelor degree, a master degree and a PhD degree in computer science.
Hey, this is future me, and I just want to tell you that at the end of the video I will also show you what the salary differences are between those degrees, so it's definitely worth to watch the video till the end.
With hiring software engineers and has also worked without a degree. So let's dive right into it. The short answer is it depends. Right? And it's really hard to tell whether or not for your specific career plan, for your specific thing that you want to do, you need a degree or not. So as I said, I worked in the past without a degree as a programmer, as a software developer. This was when I started my career. I was 14 years old and I was a self-taught programmer at the time. So everything that I knew, I learned reading books. At that time, that was really how you learn programming, right? There wasn't YouTube around at that time. So it was really reading books. There was exercises in there. There was a little bit help on the internet, but this was also still the time where you used actually a modem to connect to the internet, and you had to be offline to receive calls and so on. So there was no unlimited browsing the internet at that time. So I learned to program, and then I started to accept my first programming gigs, right? Really getting paid for, at that time, creating web shops and mostly writing PHP programs. And it worked quite well, and I even later on, shortly before I started my bachelor program, was hired as at that time it was called working student by a company, and there was more in the embedded area, right? So yes, you can get a job without a degree. I also know some people, not many, but some people that dropped out of their bachelor degree and still work now as programmers or software developers. So that's not something that's entirely unheard of. I also know one guy that is quite successfully doing this, also for a big company. But here I think the distinguishing factor, and that's what I would say is important when you don't have a degree. You need to somehow have proof that you know what you are doing, right? If you have a degree, then that's your proof that you know how to write software, for instance. So if you don't have a degree, then you can give this proof by working on an open source project, speaking at development conferences, having a blog where you publish what you do. Right? So all kinds of things where you show your work, you deliver proof. Also by having clients, right? If you're self-deployed, or by having a good reference of the company that you work with, right? But it might be difficult if you are not in a freelance business, if you don't want to be self-deployed, if you really want to get hired as a programmer, it might be difficult to actually get into the company. It might still be possible when you're able to show some of your projects, some of the things you have implemented or done, but it might be harder to get hired, especially by big companies, Fortune 500 companies, without a degree. Second of all, what I think you should consider is, especially when you're still young, right? And when you're right now thinking about, should I go to college, should I go to university, should I pursue getting a degree in computer science or software engineering, even though I already know how to program, right? Or is this just not worth the time? education is really something where you can't put a price tag on it. And I have to say, yes, of course, not each and every lecture that I had in my studies is something that I can directly apply to my day job, but I learned really a lot during this time, and I learned different perspectives, and I was also forced to learn things that at that time I didn't find particularly interesting, but helped me later in my career, right? And that's something that's difficult when you're self-taught, because when you learn by yourself, you don't force you to learn things that you're not interested in. You would never do that. But when you are in a degree program, you have to do that, right? Sometimes. So when you have the ability and the possibility to get a degree, my recommendation would always go for the degree, because what you learn will have some value in the future. A related question is, do you need, when you have a degree, a computer science degree, or might another degree be good as well, right? To be a software engineer, like a degree in physics or mathematics or something similar. And I have to say, especially now in my perspective as a hiring manager, I know that there are physicists or mathematicians that can code, right? And that have the ability to abstract and think about complex problems, because that's what you're trained when you have such a degree. But I also believe that a classical software engineering education has a lot of value, right? So that you know requirements engineering, that you know how to design things. And that's something where a computer science degree or software engineering degree might put you in a slight advantage compared to a physics degree or mathematics degree, right? Because there you don't learn this. You might learn how to program, but you don't learn the basics of software engineering. Of course, what you might be able to do is actually take those lectures as well when you're doing a mathematics or physics degree at your university, right? Either as a voluntary extra lecture if that's possible, or maybe you will even get some credits for it, right? So from my perspective, yeah, a physics degree or mathematics degree might even be better than no degree, especially if you want to work for a big company. But at least in my personal experience as a hiring manager, I would prefer someone with a computer science or software engineering degree over someone with a non-computer science or non-software engineering degree. One other related question is, what about grades, right? Do the grades matter? And there as well, from my background as a hiring manager, I would say it depends. If you only have bad grades in every single lecture, that's a little bit of a red flag, right? Because that shows me that you might not be really passionate or interested in what you are doing. Because usually you find one or two lectures where you are really, really interested in and where you then also do well. If that's not the case, that might be a little bit challenging, to be honest. On the other hand, if you have some good grades, so let's say you have a very good grade in software engineering, you have a very good grade in basics of computer science or programming, but you have a not so good grade, I don't know, in data mining or math or theoretical foundation of computer science or something like that, right? If you have a sort of a balanced grade sheet, that's okay. That's not a problem. We can't be good and equally interested in all the topics, so that's absolutely okay from my perspective to also have some bad grades. Now, I said earlier, you can't put a price tag on education, but what you can do is you can put a price tag on a degree, especially on the salary differences that you might have based on a degree. So I did not find any data about what is the average salary without a degree, but at least I found data for a bachelor, master and PhD degree that we can compare. The average salary of a bachelor in software engineering is $82,000 per year. If you have a master's in software engineering, the average salary is at $109,000 per year. So you see there already is a difference between the bachelor and the master degree. And if you have a PhD degree in computer science, your average salary is around $127,000 per year. So you see, with every degree there is a difference in the average salary. So it definitely pays off to do a master or a PhD. Of course, if you don't live in a country like Germany, like I do, where your university education is more or less for free, and you live in a country like the US, where you have to pay for it, that's something that you need to factor in. But if you consider this over lifetime, I'm sure also there a master's degree or a PhD degree would pay off. So, in summary, do you need a degree? Well, it really depends on the type of work you want to do, the type of companies you want to work for, but not necessarily. 2, I would really recommend for you to get the degree, because what you learn while doing the degree will help you in your future career, even if during your studies you don't find this interesting or you don't find this helpful at all, and you wonder, when will I ever need this in real life? And third of all, there is a difference in the salary you might get based on the degree that you have. So that's also to be considered when you're choosing what degree you have. So, thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up and like this video, or consider subscribing to this channel if you want to see more videos like this one. I would really appreciate it and hope to see you in the next video. Thanks and goodbye.